Out of all the races of Arda, the dwarves probably had the most unique origin story, for when they were created by the Vala Aule, they were still lifeless creations that lacked consciousness and sentience, and they could only move or act when Aule willed them to. The only being that could really create life or a soul was the one god Iluvatar, the creator of the elves and men that were regarded as his children, and he would adopt the dwarves and give them a soul, also known as a Fea, and in that moment they became conscious and acquired free will. Now since Iluvatar adopted the dwarves and they weren't his original creations, many people wonder what sort of fate awaited the dwarves after their death. Some of the first elves believed that the dwarves would return to the earth and stone from which they were made, though I feel that this would be quite bleak, and that this belief wouldn't be really compatible with the concept of an immortal soul. It's also very important to understand that Tolkien specifies that this belief was held by the elves in the past, which would imply that they've changed their thoughts on the dwarven fate since then. I think it was probably the belief of the first elves that had encountered the dwarves, for they had never seen this strange race before, and they thought that they were simply animals that lacked sentience, and they hunted them. Now the dwarven belief was quite different from that of the elves, for the dwarves believed that Aule would care for them and that they had a separate, exclusive area in the halls of Mandos where their spirits would gather after their death. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the halls of Mandos, it was a place in the Undying Lands where the spirits of elves and men gathered for a while before they passed on to their respective afterlives. It seems that the dwarven spirits would eventually be re-embodied, for the dwarves believe that they were fated to help Aule repair and remake the world after the final battle of Arda, known as Dagor Dagorath. Now there was an exception to this, that of the first fathers of the dwarves, for the dwarves believe that the first 7 dwarfs that were created by Aule, also known as the first 7 fathers, would be reincarnated after their death as one of their descendants, and they would live once more among their people and bear their ancient names. The dwarves believed that these reincarnated fathers would retain the memory from their past lives, though these memories wouldn't feel disjointed, but they would seem like many consecutive years of life of a single person. The spirit of these dwarfs would linger, even for many centuries sometimes, before it was reincarnated in one of the first father's descendants. It seems that the cycle of rebirth wasn't endless, and that after several reincarnations, the cycle would stop, and I believe that at that point, the father spirit would finally gather in the dwarven area of the halls of Mandos. In the case of Durin, the father of the Longbeard clan, it is said that Durin VII would be the last of his reincarnations, and that he would be born sometime during the Fourth Age, and that under his rule, the dwarves would reclaim and restore their ancient home of Khazad-dûm. Anyway friends, this wraps up today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the dwarven afterlife. How accurate do you think the dwarven beliefs were? And do you think it was a preferable end compared to the afterlife of elves and men? As always, if you're interested, check out our Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and some of our affiliate links in the video description. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to join our fellowship today. I hope to see you all in my next video, where together we'll once again explore the magical world and lore of Middle-earth.